what, guys? Guess what? House hunting in Uganda is brutal.
Oh my god. Can I sing to you? Yeah.
So if you're new to this channel, welcome. If you're already a subscriber and you're just returning because you love me, dope, yeah, thanks. I love you. My house hunting experience wasn't that bad, but the house hunting in Uganda is brutal. So you have to know the whole house hunting process before you just jump into the house hunting process, you know. So first and foremost, I would advise you to use blockers, right? So usually on border stages, there are usually those posts on the poles, on the walls of blockers advertising their businesses. You can even go talk to those border guys and they will tell you, they'll recommend someone. That's how I started my house hunting process. I had decided to move in November, but I found myself in a fix. So I found myself postponing it to December holiday. I wanted to utilize that period when the schools are not open. There is no that excuse of hostels and university students occupying the places, because I work near a university. So usually, of course, you'll get such excuses. Then I wanted to make sure that I'm ready. I have everything that I need. Literally, what I did, I asked my colleagues. You can also talk to your colleagues because there are different ways to get a blocker's number or a trustworthy number. So what I did, I couldn't just jump into the whole thing of house hunting. I needed to be sure of the blocker that I was getting. Some guys are like swindlers. You pay for money, you go through the whole process, you look for a house, you've invested a lot, you've reached the extent to where you've cleared the rent fees for a specific period, like usually 3 to 4 months to 6 months, whatever is convenient for you. And when you're entering the house, or maybe you've put in your things, and of course the house owner will be notified, you know what, someone has entered the house and he doesn't know of anyone that has paid the money, so he'll come and kick you out. I did not want to be a victim in that situation. What I did, I knew I was ready and I had made up my mind that I was moving. I had told my parents about it and they were fully supporting me. So I talked to some of my colleagues in the areas that I wanted to move in, to shift to. So 2 of them gave me numbers, and I had already gotten numbers from different people. So I had already gotten the numbers. Now I'm set. I just have to call the people. And thank God that on my first attempt, I got a very good guy. And this guy was so good. He was so patient, and he was speaking politely, and he was so professional, you know. He was like open to ideas, even recommended me to people that, you know, he has supported and he has offered blocking. Okay, we give up. I called that guy. I called him on 23rd. We were closing at office on 23rd. I called him on 23rd evening. I told him, I introduced myself. I spoke to him nicely, and he asked me my budget. I told him my budget, and he was like, okay, we can get a house. Let's see how it will go. I'll stay in contact. On 24th, he calls me and tells me there's a house I should go visit. So I loved the place I fell in love with the place at first sight, you know. The place was in a fence. It was secure, the environment was okay, it was near my workplace, it was near home, so I could go back and forth from both places. Then we called the landlord and I told him I had loved the place, where can I go to make the payment, and what he needed me to bring with me in order to finalize the payment and get the house keys. So the guy tells me it's Christmas. He has traveled with all his family to the village, but I can't. He's returning on 26th or 27th. So we should meet up on 27th, so that I make the payment. I come with the LC, the local council, is it the chairperson's later, the passport photos and everything that is necessary. He tells me all those things and I'm like, okay. So I go home, tell my brother and my sister-in-law. I was so happy. I told them that, you know what, I found a house on my first attempt. I even cleared the guy's fees, this broker guy. I cleared half of his fees. Usually they are not so expensive depending on the area code and your negotiation thing. So I paid him a half. What, guys, guess what? On 26th in the evening, so this guy calls me, the blocker guy calls me and tells me I should call the landlord and confirm if we are meeting tomorrow for me to clear the rent fees and then finally move in and everything. So I call the landlord, and the guy doesn't. The guy told me that someone has already paid, like literally. He even told me before I left that place on 24th. He told me buy a padlock and lock the place so that people know it's taken. I buy the padlock and put the padlock on the door, and I find the house taken. So like, I asked the guy. He told me you're in the village with your whole family. What happened? Then he's like, no, my wife remained. So some girl went there and paid for the house. I was like, seriously, I was so disappointed. I had kept on postponing my moving dates from November. It was first in October, then I moved it to November, I moved it in December. And my moving date was January. I didn't want to exceed that. I have no house, like I have like 4 days to move out. The guy tells me, you know what, I've heard there are 3 houses, you should come, we visit them tomorrow. No, on 29? Yeah, 29. It was on 29th. I was like, okay. So I'm like, okay. Actually, he called me after a day and told me he had found two houses that I should, 3 houses that I should look at, and they're nice. He explained they're within your budget. So I'm so stressed about it. I'm so angry and disappointed. So I called this blocker guy and I'm like, I paid you to like the house, and you know, like what happened? Like they're telling me the house has already been paid off. I'd given him half of the visiting fees and his services. So I told him, like, are you also among those, like, are you also like doing those things of whereby someone pays you money and you come up with a situation, something like that? I'm on a budget here. So it's like, wait, what are you even talking about? Let me call the landlord. I know him, he's a friend of mine. So he calls that guy and later on gets back to me like after an hour and he's like, you know what, I'm even ashamed, I'm embarrassed, I'm really sorry for the inconvenience. I really don't know the guy. Maybe he had already received money and he didn't want to tell us, and he was expecting someone to move out. So I'm like, so what's next? I'm like, okay. So I had some work to do at office. I went to office for like an hour or two. I called the guy and told him I'm leaving office. Where should we meet? We met up. I was moving with a border guy. Literally, I'm going to just give you this for free because you're not paying me. So when you're having that house hunting and everything, and you're like going to visit different areas, it's advisable that you move with a border that you trust, because a taxi will drop you somewhere and you don't know the areas, and you'll find yourself so disorganized, so tired and everything. So I was using a border guy. So I meet this guy, then he takes us to the places. The 2 places, oh my god, as tired a son, the disappointment, I'm already disappointed, I'm already discouraged. So we visit these two places and they looked like hostel, you know, those weird hostel rooms, like very small, one single room. And I'm like, no, like this is not what I want. And then he was telling me how I'm picky and everything. But then he was like, okay, let's go to this third place, and if you don't like it, then I'll just have to refund, and maybe we wait for like a week or two when people are like finally back and they have opened their houses to new people and everything. So I'm like, okay. But I told him I would rather stay home, other than, because I wasn't being chased from home, I was just moving out. So we visit the third place. I fell in love with the third place immediately, like literally. So we go visit he thought there was only one vacant place, but when we visited the vacant house, that it was at the back in the corner, and you know, the darkness, the dampness and everything, I didn't like the place. So as we're moving out, to meet the caretaker of the area, and it's like, no, there's another house here, someone had left yesterday. So I check, and the neighbor was there. She was so lovely. She told me, you know what, these houses are for this kind of amount, and yeah, it's nice. So I enter, I check the house, and I'm like, this is mine, how can I pay? So they passed me through the whole process. I called the manager, we set up a meeting for the next day, I go sign my contract, and yeah, so I moved out. Congs to me. I didn't pick my house keys after payment. I paid via bank, and I couldn't pick my key. I went there. I was at the place by, I think, midday. The company looks at 2, and it was during Christmas holidays, you know, the New Year's. It was 30th when I paid. So I go back to my sister's. I hoped her do some things. Then I had to go back home and prepare. My brother was leaving, and then the next day is 31st, right? 31st is like it's like a no touch zone, you know, because 31st I had to cook. I had to go to the salon. After the salon, that very day, we usually sleep in church, because you want to enter the new year in God's presence and everything. So on 31st night, I went to church and came back home on 1st January 2023. So I was exhausted. I thought I would go pick my key. I was so exhausted, and of course the food that she made, we had to eat the food. I just couldn't go pick and I had the parking. I couldn't pick the key. Meanwhile, the anxiety was getting to me, because I've had friends tell me stories of things like how they were swindled, like how I just you at the beginning of this video. So this boy paid 500,000 for a place for, I think, 4 months, and as when the truck came with his things and he was going to enter, he found a padlock, and he asked, like, why is this place with a padlock? Here is the receipt I paid. And the landlord is like, maybe you are swindled, like you are victim of you know, whatever they call it. So I started thinking about it, and I could not sleep on 1st. That night I spent it like turning and tossing in bed. So I went and picked my key very early in the morning at 8. I picked my key, finalized parking, and on 3rd, my brother and a friend helped me like move in. My friend lives in the area that I moved in, so she helped me move in, and I used the leave days that I'd gotten from work to like settle in, clean up, and you know, get used to the area and relax a bit, you know, you feel me?